Welcome to Relatively Weird, the podcast where a couple of cousins get together and talk about everything weird. I am Kim.
I am Jilli.
And today, I'm going to talk to you about the history of beauty techniques and some of the weirdest ones.
Okay.
You look skeptical.
Well, I'm trying to think of, like, what I know. Like, I'm thinking, okay, beauty techniques, the first thing that comes to mind is, like, makeup.
Yes.
So then I go,
heavily.
okay, makeup. Makeup, like, lipstick, like, shark blubber. Not blubber. I don't know. What is it? Shark oil. They used to make, like, lipstick out of things.
A lot of things, yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me tell it. And
like musks of perfume and I don't know. Go ahead. Do you know what I'm talking about though? Like otter.
I don't think they made perfume out of otter musk.
You can cut this out, but you know how like they say, you know how they go like natural flavors or something.
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah,
it's like the like
it's beaver. It's like I think it's beaver and
anus.
it's the anal glands.
Yeah.
So something like that. Yes.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So as far as we can tell, cosmetics were first used in Egypt in around 10,000 BCE. And some people consider it one of the world's first rituals.
Putting on makeup?
Yeah, using makeup in some ways. I think obviously there's makeup for
Ceremonies
ritual, ritual purposes. And then this we're focusing more on actual improving your looks. The idea that there's a beauty standard.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And we're going to hear, this isn't chronological. I just found a bunch of weird things and I threw them all together. And I'm going to bring up a thing and we're going to talk about it. And I'm hoping that it just elicits a lot of conversation because I think it's going to be short, but interesting.
Yeah.
So obviously we know a lot of pretty innocuous items were used, like incense oils, crushed flowers, fish scales.
Ew. For what?
Shimmer.
Like
I
leave
love
it
that
on
one.
there?
Like you crush up fish scales because they're kind of pearlescent.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think it's lovely.
Ew, it's gonna smell though.
I'm sure they clean it. Anyway. Ew. Frankincense for wrinkles.
What is frankincense?
I knew you were going to say that.
Did you look it up?
It's an incense.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Frankincense.
But they burn it.
Is it frankincense?
Or is that the myrrh? Yeah, and that's how it's spelled.
What's myrrh?
Murder. Judas. I love that so much.
Frankincense, myrrh, and gold. Is that what they brought Jesus?
We're a bunch of heathens. Okay. Frankincense.
Frankincense.
It is a hardened gum-like material that comes from the trunk of the boswellia tree. Gum. So it's an oil. It's a gum that comes from
a tree.
Probably like a sap from a tree.
Oh, okay.
I would imagine. Thank you, WebMD.
WebMD, really?
That's what just came up.
Weird.
First. Anyway. Because people still use it for like aromatherapy.
Yeah. Okay.
There are a couple things that I was going to talk about. And as I started searching, we still do it today. And I was like, oh, that's not
like
history.
What?
Dimple makers.
There's dimple makers?
Yeah, you like put these things on your cheeks. They're like clamps almost. And they poke in and are supposed to like eventually give you dimples.
Does that happen? Like, can you do that? I don't know.
Your face is going to get stuck that way. I feel like you'd have to do it for so long to get that.
And it would probably look more like a scar than like an actual.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So anyway, apparently that's still a thing. You can order that on Amazon these days. So
weird.
So some stuff I kept off the list because we're still doing it now, which is scary. So originally, the use of cosmetics seemed to be more for skin care, like wrinkles and blemishes and stuff like that. And then around 4000 BCE, people started using items for color and like to accentuate their features. Eyeliner,
Yeah, if you think about Egypt,
blush,
the whole
lipstick,
thing is
makeup.
yeah.
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 Now, we're going to talk about stuff that today we think is like gross or weird or painful. But you think about things that we do today, and maybe 100 years in the future, people will look back and be like, what were you thinking? But things like cosmetic tattooing, people tattoo color on their lips now,
Yeah.
eyeliner, lip filler, Botox, you're injecting. I mean, Botox is botulism.
Botulism. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Laser hair removal, using
Okay,
a
but-
laser to burn stuff off. I know. So you're okay, but people must have done that.
It does sound scary, but also like that no one had lasers back then. Anyway.
No, but I'm thinking that's the equivalent.
No, I know. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tanning beds, spray tans,
Well,
and of course surgical techniques. Mm-hmm. Just like a lift,
that scares me.
liposuction, just suctioning out. That's
I heard that that's
people
really
do that
painful.
anymore.
I don't know. I don't know.
They freeze it off now too.
Do they?
Yeah, I think
Still got to be painful though.
awful.
Oof.
But that's today. So we're going to talk about some of the weird shit people used to do in the olden times.
Yes.
So fake eyelashes. Love them. Would use them all the time if I had the patience.
I don't know how to put them on. But
They're tough. It
Yeah.
took me a while. But back in the day, they were using eyelash transplants. So there were stories of transplants happening as far back as 1882.
transplants.
So
Okay.
they transplant hair from the head into your eyelashes and actually eyebrows. Some people liked.
What?
Yes. I actually have an excerpt from an article on exactly how to do that. But obviously sparse eyelashes were considered a sign of aging. And also, let's just be honest, full eyelashes are like...
But okay. Well, go continue.
So an article in 1899 described the process. So I'm quoting for quite some time here. An ordinary fine needle is threaded with a long hair, generally taken from the head of the person to be operated on. The lower border of the eyelid is then thoroughly cleaned, and in order that the process may be as painless as possible, rubbed with a solution of cocaine.
What?
The operator then, by a few skillful touches, runs his needle through the extreme edges of the eyelid between the epidermis and the lower border of the cartilage of the tragus. The needle passes in and out along the edge of the lid, leaving its hair thread in loops of carefully graduated lengths. End quote.
Several issues here. Number one,
Yes.
I have naturally medium brown hair. I wouldn't even say dark. My eyelashes are black.
Yeah.
The I don't think material consistency, not consistency.
The texture.
The texture,
Yes.
right, of my eyelash is not the same as the texture of my hair, no matter how short you would cut it.
Yeah.
So if you looked closely, you would notice that's not the right hair to have on your eyelid.
So they do this twice. After they've done it once, they do it again with another hair. So they're really, like, you think if they did it a couple times, there's enough hair there that you're not really probably noticing. And then they cut the loops.
When was this?
1882.
Did you have to have a lot of money to get this type of thing
I
done?
would imagine, yes.
Okay. Were
Because
there
trained for whatever it's worth. I don't know how certified they are.
Was this in like Western countries at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I have a little. I am. Okay. So there must have been like a lot of, what do you call it? Infection, right? Like, think about the scabbing.
I know. So the eye was bandaged for a day, just a day.
So now, okay, so I only learned that this was a thing in the past, like, probably decade or less than, that there are eyelash, like, extensions. So
Yes.
you can, but they don't, they just use, like, your natural
They attached to the
eyelash.
yeah, like a hair extension.
Right.
Yes.
And then I suppose, cause I don't know, your eyelashes stop at a certain point growing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how often you have to, like, have it replaced or done or today.
Like
I
lash
mean.
extension.
Yeah.
No. I believe that there's a certain time period for
Like maybe
cleanliness.
Right, like
for
too
sure.
many have, because you lose eyelashes all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, they lose their, like, anchor, I suppose. Did they have to, like, keep this up? Like,
So at first,
oh God.
they would take like a knitting needle and they would use the knitting needle to curl the hair because it's not used to, it's probably just going whichever way.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but they claimed that eventually it would stay in place. And they also claimed that sometimes that hair, quote unquote, took root.
No.
I don't believe it either.
No.
Sometimes it just straight up fell out.
Root?
But can you imagine it falling out? Oh. Anyway.
No. Well, here's the thing. Like, I mean, like you said today, people will tattoo semi-permanent makeup, I guess, because eventually it gets, your face sees a lot of the sun, it gets faded, and people will tattoo their eye line, their like water line, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it's tattooed eyeliner, eyebrows.
oh my God. Eye things are like,
Oh, a needle next to your eye just seems like a freaking...
and then back then, like, because, okay, this is gross. If you think about it, you know, like if you're sick and your eyes are watery and you go to sleep and they're like stuck.
Yeah.
There had to have been like an instance where, you know, you're basically being led around like, okay, go to bed. And then when you get up, we'll take the bandages off. And they're probably like stuck, like all the, you know what I mean? Like they're like trying to heal and it's so creepy. I don't like it. Blech.
Well,
Okay.
thankfully, by 1911, a Canadian woman named Anna Taylor started...
Ann Taylor.
Anna. Started using hair attached to a small piece of fabric that was attached to the eyelid with adhesive. So, like, a lot like we have today. Like
Yeah.
a line.
Oh my God, that just freaked me out. I don't
That
like
was
it.
just the first one.
I know, but I thought you were going to talk about like shark oil.
I mean, well, so the next topic is sort of interesting like that.
Okay.
The ancient Romans felt that paler or brighter skin was more desirable. And the thought was that if you had a tan or freckles, it meant you spent more time outside and likely were not as well off.
Yeah.
You had to do a lot of your work yourself. Now, Romans, though, were generally more olive-skinned
Yeah.
in general, regardless of how much time they spent outside. So, people started using a paste made of crocodile dung on their faces to help brighten their skin. And it was also thought to help with wrinkles.
Why crocodile dung?
I'm not sure. The history of like how that came to be is unclear to me. Somebody like fell face first and then they were like, "Oh my God, your skin looks amazing today."
Okay. Is it? I don't know how much you know about crocodile poo, but
Nothing.
like,
What?
no, like, is it like white after a while? Okay, so let me explain. So we have geese that live across the street from us. They will come into our yard. When they poop, it looks like a normal poo, and then when it, I don't know, oxidizes or something, it becomes white.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you go, okay, we gotta have something look light. Look at all this crocodile poo. It's white. It got bleached in the sun. And like maybe
That might work on us.
yeah. I'm just trying to
be.
get into the mind of
In what world that was the thought process.
Huh.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that they were the only animal whose feces was used.
Okay. Well, okay.
We're also going to have a discussion of urine later. So, but for now, we're moving along to what is known as the tuberculosis look.
What?
Which I feel like is the Victorian era version of like the 90s heroin chic.
Okay.
So what that looks like is rosy cheeks, pale skin, dilated pupils, bright red lips, and a very small figure.
Yeah.
So,
Dying. Dying.
Dying, yes. Uh-huh.
Wow.
So there are a number of things that were used. Bathing in arsenic was used to brighten the skin, even though they knew that it was poisonous.
Is it poisonous? Can you get it like topically though? It's just if you ingest it, right? Well, obviously, because people survive.
I suppose
Anyway.
if they were like, yeah, they knew it was. Yeah.
Moving on.
Swallowed ammonia.
Where do you get ammonia naturally?
Urine has ammonia in it.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
They use corsets, of course, to
Yep.
get that ideal like 14 to 16 inch waist. I don't know what on me is.
14 to 16 inches, like around.
Yeah.
I don't
Yikes.
know.
I think that's the size of Abel's neck or something.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
If
We should check it out later.
we'll measure it. They also use the tapeworm diet, which is still against all doctors' orders used today by people
Where do you
who are
even
dumb.
get a tapeworm? Creed.
The internet.
Your worm guy.
So you take a pill with a tapeworm in it. The egg hatches. You got a tape.
When do you decide to pull it out?
Once you hit your weight loss goal.
It doesn't come out in your poo.
Parts of it do.
Ew.
But if the head never leaves, so pieces of it can break off.
Right.
And if the head's still in there. Yeah. And the idea was that you can eat whatever you want. And
Oh, yeah.
so you can still
It's stealing your nutrients.
You're also the Victorian era, so there's so many social things, right? You're at a dinner. You can't not eat in front of people.
Yeah.
So you're still eating, you're still partaking in these social things, but you're never going to gain weight. Now, the problem is, once you reached that goal, how do you get the tapeworm out of you? There were a couple different ways, but one way in particular was by putting a cylinder filled with food into the digestive system down the front, the top, to lure it out. You can go fishing for tapeworms. The unfortunate thing is that some people actually did choke to death in this process.
Wait, hold on. What? So you put it like a trap, basically. You
Yeah.
swallow a trap.
You don't like swallow it down. I think it's connected to something almost like a like when they do a scope.
And they pull
But
it out.
but it's Victorian.
How do you know when it's been like, ooh, I'm gonna go in and get the cylinder food?
Maybe that it's like as long as you can handle it, and then they come out and go, nope.
Oh my god, that sounds like a nightmare. Okay.
All of these things are a nightmare, but people did it to look skinny.
Okay.
They also used white lead as a skin lightener.
Good plan.
It was called Venetian white or spirits of Saturn, and it was made from white lead straight from Venice. Allegedly, Queen Elizabeth I was a user of white lead. But the issue was like makeup was typically seen as a sign of promiscuity at the time, and a lot of women hid their use of it. Ironically, lead could actually lead to breakouts on your face. Breakouts associated with witchcraft.
Well, crap.
Right? You got to take, I mean, what, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't,
Yeah.
really. And people knew that there were negative side effects to it, but they did it anyway. And I think people, even at the time, would say, like, oh, we think she died from lead poisoning. Lead poisoning occurs when, obviously, lead can be absorbed through the skin.
Yeah.
And it leads to a list of things, including, but not limited to, infertility, abdominal pain, constipation, memory problems, anemia, intellectual disabilities, and death. So, but at least you have a lighter skin tone, I guess.
And it's funny because now people are like, I want to be tan.
Yeah. And lastly, to get that tuberculosis look, they used belladonna eye drops. So belladonna means beautiful woman. It's also called deadly nightshade. It is a plant. It gave them a watery eye look and also dilated the pupils. So atropine, which is the active ingredient in belladonna, is still used today to dilate your pupils, like by your optometrist.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously it's very diluted.
It's still like a lot, though. I mean, you can't go out into the light without. You know what I mean? Like, it hurts. It hurts. Sticking poison in your eye. I mean, that's not. Yeah.
These women, it's not like they had sunglasses. Did they?
I don't think so.
I feel like I've seen an old-timey... I don't know when it was from, though. Anyway. Belladonna caused vertigo, blurry vision, headaches, and, of course, blindness.
At least you look good. Why don't you just get tuberculosis?
Also, watery eyes. Like, that seems like so... Just all the time. Watery eyes. I guess they look
like,
shiny.
Yeah, like not like dripping, but just like glassy eyes. I don't know.
Just dazed and confused most of the time. Okay, so that was the tuberculosis look.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on. This is like from the late 1800s to the 1920s. People used arsenic wafers, which were actually pills, and they were sold commercially. And they provided a pale complexion.
Because you're being poisoned?
One source said that it was destroying your red blood cells.
Oh, no.
Again, it was one source. I don't know if that's... I think arsenic does so many things.
Yeah, I was going to say probably a lot more than that. Oof.
It also was said to work on blemishes and freckles. However, a side effect of its use was hyperpigmentation.
Oh. Well, then...
There's like a bell curve.
Yeah. Wow.
You're good. Oh, well, you
Yeah.
did too much. I mean, that's true.
I was just going to say there's basically all beauty type things.
So now we're back in the ancient world. Ancient Greece. 2 eyebrows? No, thank you. I'm from ancient Greece.
Okay.
So it was not seen as trendy to have 2 separate eyebrows in ancient Greece, apparently. So...
For both sexes?
Yes. So originally, people tried to add black powder to the existing hair between their eyebrows.
Yeah.
However, not everybody has a sufficient amount to really hold... If you're kind of sparse in that area.
True. Yeah.
If you don't have enough, take some goat hair, some tree resin, and voila, you have a unibrow.
Okay.
And now you look like somebody important, I guess.
So, no. Okay, but if you think about it, eyebrows are weird. They're just weird. The concept of eyebrows is weird. Why do we have hair there? Like, weirdly.
Right, because I know
Because you
what
have
eyelashes
eyelashes.
are for.
Yeah, but an eyebrow. Because, okay, think about it today, right? No eyebrows. It is a look. People do that. I think it's like heavily more in like the goth type worlds.
Yeah.
But think about, okay, the beauty standard of today is 2 eyebrows, obviously. Hopefully. Well, not even going to say hopefully. Right now, the
Yes.
beauty standard is 2 eyebrows. So, but you also want to have coverage. Like bushy eyebrows, well, you know what? Some people can pull them off though. But a sparse eyebrow is not considered to be beautiful right now.
Right now. Yeah.
So I feel like the eyebrow beauty standard has changed so much. I mean, even think about like in the 1900s, you know, from the beginning to the 90s, then it was like the pencil eyebrow, and then it was a little bit thicker, and then, you know, some people like the flat ones, some people like a little bit of arch. Like, it's still always changing.
It is. And you know what's funny is, like, when you think about your day to day with people, unless they have like outstanding eyebrows in a positive or negative way, you would never take note of that.
I do. I don't know
You
why.
do?
I do when people have really good eyebrows.
Oh, well, that's what I mean, though.
No, but like, I notice. No, you know what? Not even good eyebrows. Just any eyebrows. Like,
Really?
Yes! I don't know why. But it's
You're
just
an
a me
eyebrow
thing.
person, huh?
Like a normal, I just notice.
Okay.
Because I'm like, anyway.
Well, I'm going to hit you with an interesting, this is from, I don't know what it's from. I can't tell. Obviously, eyebrows, apparently, do protect eyes from sweat.
Okay.
Dirt,
Yeah, that
dust,
makes
water.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
The shape and direction of eyebrows also helps moisture flow sideways around the eyes instead of down the face.
Okay.
Also, a 2018 study suggests that early hominids' more mobile eyebrows may have helped them form relationships and survive in groups. So you do think about how drastically
Expressions and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
If somebody says something, an eyebrow tweak can totally change the way you take it.
I have to maintain my eyebrow movement sometimes, depending on where I am and who I'm talking to. Yeah.
Most social situations. So yes, at the time, ancient Greece. Now, I want to point out, like, how many shows do you watch? How many history shows? Or not history shows, but like historical dramas. And you're like, oh, look at that beautiful woman. And I understand they have to put our beauty standards today on the screen. But you're also like, wouldn't it be flippin' hilarious if they just one time did a show that was accurate to that beauty standard?
What's interesting, also TikTok related, people are now asking, like, do I have an iPhone face? Meaning, you know, like the new season of Bridgerton just came out. So people are trying to determine, like, would their facial features pass?
Yeah.
Like, what is it about, like, the modern look versus, like, a classic look, depending on, you know, what period you're trying to go for. But, like, and people are kind of going, I don't want to look modern. But it's the way we take care of ourselves or not take care of ourselves. Like, it's the way we, you know, like the eyebrows. You might shape them in a certain way that's in right now. Mm-hmm. Right. Like, what did people really look like?
Yeah.
I mean, there's pictures of
watching like a show on HBO Max and everybody's walking around with goat hair attached to the middle of their
or the at one point women, like, it was considered beautiful to have like a high hairline.
Oh, we're getting there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm.
And yeah. It's actually next.
Yeah.
So that was just not enough hair, right? Now we're deciding in the Middle Ages that women with a lot of body or facial hair were, and this is a quote, this is not my thought.
Okay.
They were, quote, disagreeable and argumentative, muscular, ugly, has a deep voice, and frequent infertility problems.
Wait, are you saying so women with more body hair in general?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
The man wrote an article
Yes.
about why women with less body hair are more desirable.
Oh. Yeah. When was this?
The Middle Ages.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, not wanting to be undesirable, ugly, disagreeable.
Deep voiced.
Don't decide I'm disagreeable based on my eyebrows, okay? You'll learn that. No. So women went so far as to pluck their eyebrows entirely, which again we do today, but often to draw them back in kind of how we want.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
time.
some people will. Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah, but they would also pluck the hair from their hairline, pushing it back as far as possible.
Yeah.
And the thought process of this was that makes me so uncomfortable. They said that they wanted, the idea was to almost resemble a baby. Purity.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that is supposed to be considered beautiful and is also reminiscent of like a younger person.
Yes, exactly. And this is right. The eyelash thing is you're sparse, so you're aging.
Yeah.
You have blemishes, you have wrinkles. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hair plucking. So in the 18th century, you're familiar seeing like crazy wigs.
Yeah.
Like high, tall, often white, powdered wigs. But they didn't have hairspray. How do you get that much hair to stay in place?
I'm afraid.
You use lard, of course.
Of course you do. Is it crocodile this time or something different?
I think it's probably leftover.
Whatever is the animal of your region.
There's a problem with this, though.
Yeah.
Because it attracted pests like lice and rats.
Oh my god.
So much so that some women had to have a cage over their wig while they slept to keep the rats away from them.
You wouldn't just take your wig off?
I think that you would. I would think that you would.
And then you put it in a cage?
Yes.
Like you don't wear the cage?
No, I don't think. I think that would be.
You were gesturing and I'm like, wait a minute. I gotta put my cage on. Hold on.
I mean, maybe. Depends on how, insecure you are about it.
Maybe.
Do you want your husband to see you in your wig?
I don't think they slept together, right? They sleep separately.
I mean...
I don't know. Anyway.
So,
okay.
We're getting there. We're almost done. I'm done. I'm almost done torturing you with this gross stuff.
Man, this is interesting, though.
So this is where we get back to the urine conversation. Romans, as early as 1 AD, were using urine as mouthwash.
Okay. But pee is, sterile. So, no, it's not the worst one. I don't think it's the worst one. Okay, go on.
No.
Oh, and ammonia, could it bleach,
yes.
your...
Yeah.
Okay.
So animal and human urine was used to improve their bad breath and whiten their teeth. Which begs the question, how bad was your breath before
I was going to say, how did you find that out?
Also that. Ammonia does help kill off odor-causing bacteria, so that makes sense. Nero, the emperor, actually had to start taxing bottled Portuguese urine that was being imported because it was the best urine.
Okay,
Portuguese urine.
Hold on. Is the urine from Portugal
people
urine?
I believe, yes.
So, they're like, you guys. So how did they figure that Portuguese urine... The Portugal people had the best
word of mouth, I'm sure. I hate to admit that as you were formulating that question, I was ready.
Okay.
So, like I said, Nero was like, we got to make money off this. You guys are importing too much Portuguese urine, so we're taxing this stuff.
How would you know? I could pee in there and be like, oh, it's totally a Portuguese
I'm telling
urine.
you, how do we find out anything?
That's true.
Accident.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
just like whoever fell face first into a crocodile
What if they
poop
did?
and had great skin the next day. These people accidentally, or
How?
were so dehydrated.
I can't even imagine.
Oh my god, I'll just drink this urine.
There must have been somebody who was a socialite or something and went to Portugal. and was like, I had an experience.
That's what I'm saying. Right. Oh,
You know what I
maybe
mean? Like,
people with certain fetishes.
and they were just like,
You
I
must be one of those urine.
I've gone to a lot of places in Portugal.
My teeth have never looked better. I didn't think this podcast would ever
There's gonna be like a warning on this.
go here. Fetishes. Okay.
All right.
And lastly, about urine. Until the 18th century, mouthwash actually continued to contain some amount of urine.
What century?
18th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo.
So, yeah.
All right.
Not the 19th.
Or the 20th.
So finally, this is, unfortunately, I don't know why I did this, but this is like the least funny one. But the last thing we're going to talk about is foot binding.
Yeah.
So in China, as early as the 10th century, they think foot binding goes back to, and it didn't really stop until the early 20th century.
Yeah.
And it was seen as a status symbol. Different practices created different shapes of the foot depending on the region that the women lived in. And obviously, so I feel like the way I'm talking is, I assume everybody knows this. This was only done on Chinese women. Mm-hmm. They were usually between the ages of 4 and 9 years old when it was done because the arch of the foot hadn't fully developed.
Oh, wow.
So it's probably easier to manipulate. The feet are soaked in herbs and animal blood.
Oh.
And the idea is to like soften, I guess. You're breaking bones anyway, so I can't imagine.
Yeah, that's true.
The toes are curled under toward the sole of the foot until they break.
Now, this, like, happens over time, right? Or is it, like, they're breaking things and then they're just binding the foot, and then when the bone sets or grows, depending on how old you are, it grows back the way they want it to have been manipulated.
So there's like the initial foot breaking and binding. So the arch is then bent. So it's almost like the top of the foot is even with the shin. It's a straight line.
Yeah.
There's no angle anymore. And so now the arch is broken and the feet are bound very, very tightly, and the binding is actually sewn in place so the girls can't remove it.
Oh, wow.
Now, you have to clean and take care of these feet while they're going through this process. So the binding would be removed. They would open the foot a little bit, clean what they could, deal with any necrotic skin, because that's blood flow is completely fucked at that point.
Yeah.
And rebind, then put it back and rebind the foot.
Do we know if they were given any like pain?
I don't believe so. I mean, certainly not
for a while at least. Yeah.
Unless they had I guess they had opium. But I don't know if they would have used it for that. Sometimes these processes, I feel like, and I wouldn't say this, I don't know this for sure, so I'm not going to say that this is true, but I do think that in some rituals like this, the pain is part of it, almost.
And this was for women of like status.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they don't have to, they're not working.
Yeah. And the idea, that's like part of it, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea is like also just a small foot in general.
Yes. Dainty.
Which I still think is a thing to, not the binding obviously, but like just the idea of like, oh, you have big feet. Like as a woman.
Right.
The general expectation of a feminine woman is to have like small everything, basically. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know. There was no specific time frame for how long it took. I suppose it depends on how quickly the person's healing. If they have infections, if they're dealing with stuff like that. So obviously, this is dangerous. People dealt with bad infection. They dealt with necrosis. And people were permanently disabled.
So I'm trying to picture basically like a pointed foot.
Pointed and folded.
Well, the toes, right? The toes are folded in.
They're folded, yes. And there's a bend. The arch is bending.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking, like, you're basically never able to walk, right?
No, they had special shoes that they wore. But yeah, I don't think they could walk well. Certainly not.
And that must have, like, fucked up the whole, like, muscular, like, in your leg. Yeah.
And that's what they said, is that even if a woman wanted to reverse it, it was almost more painful to try to get your leg to form. Because
you'd have to learn how to walk.
Yeah. You've done since then.
Right. And you've never walked the way you would otherwise be born to walk.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I think people started coming into China from other places and started saying, like, that's not, we shouldn't be doing this. And so it doesn't happen. I don't think it happens at all now. I think it was practically non-existent. I think if it does, it's a very, very, like, very remote, isolated groups of people. But yeah, I mean, I feel like,
I wonder if there was any kind of, like, excitement, not in the pain part, but in the, like, your grandmother did this and I did this, and, like, there's, like, an expectation for you to kind of carry on tradition, and this is a social status. And
can you just, I mean, I don't know, I think it's I can't imagine the pain that somebody would be in 24/7.
Yeah. But think about a bunch of, like you said, a bunch of stuff that we go through that, if you get a tattoo, you're going to have to deal with the pain for a little bit. I mean, different stages of pain, obviously not on the same scale as this.
No.
But also people that, I don't know if you get, like, breast implant, any kind of implant, or filler, or, there's a certain amount of, like, beauty is pain. That's the whole thing. And it's like, it does make you think about, like, wow, why do we put ourselves through that for other people? Because it's largely for other people. If you think about it, like, if you're by yourself, if you really care what you look like, maybe you do, but, like, we're all in, sweats and our hair is crazy. And,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, so a lot of it, some of the stuff, like, I'm thinking specifically the tuberculosis look and the body hair. There was this idea that, well, if you want a husband.
True. Yeah.
And now it's not so much you could go out and make a life on your own.
Yeah. Women, at least.
But at the time, you're just,
you have to make
better
yourself
find
look,
somebody.
Well, and then there's, I mean, this is all cultural too. I did a whole paper on female circumcision in certain parts of Africa, which again is the same thing where it's like, there's a belief, was a belief, I think largely it is illegal in the places it used to not be or be practiced. They would be like, if you don't get circumcised, it's going to turn into a penis and then you won't get a husband.
Right.
And, like, that's a whole other separate, not funny topic.
No.
But it is interesting, like, how a lot of this stuff is culturally like, well, if you want to fit in,
right,
you have, if you want this to happen, you have to do this. Like,
yep.
I wear contacts, and I have an eye doctor who, I think one time I wore, like, eyeliner. I don't know why I wore eyeliner to an appointment. But he goes, I wouldn't put the eyeliner, like, on your waterline, because it does, I've ruined many a contact by the eyeliner, like, when it's wet or when it's, it will stain the contact. And I'm like, yeah, but also, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm still going to put makeup on. You're a dude who doesn't wear makeup. You don't know. Like, you just kind of guess them. Oh, yeah, yep,
oh,
yours.
sure, right.
Yeah, okay. I'm still going to do it. Like, because it doesn't happen all the time. But there's certain things where you're like, that's not advisable, but I'm still gonna do it.
I know.
You know, like,
I know. I mean, like I said, I think what we look at today as so strange at the time, it was just what you did.
But it's still strange if you think about it, right? There are certain famous people who have like butt implants.
Yes.
Or hip implants or whatever it is, and it's just like
a BBL.
Yeah, but some of us would be like, why would you do that to yourself? Da, 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 da. And then other people are like, I'm in this industry.
Right.
This is the standard. I have to keep up this standard. Now, whether or not that's true is a different debate or topic, but you do kind of think like, oh, you must be doing this to further your career in some, it's like it's a status thing.
Yeah. I will fully admit that I have thought about lip filler.
Is that permanent?
No. It
Okay.
dissolves eventually. You have to get it done. It's expensive.
To get it dissolved?
To do it.
Oh, okay.
I had a husband. I have a boyfriend. Neither one was like,
You
I don't
get
like
that
your
done.
lips.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I'm like, I would love to wear fun lipstick colors. And I feel like when I put it on my existing lips, I don't like the way that it looks. So maybe it would be fun. So I do think that, am I insecure about things? Yes. My lips, not particularly. But I do think that there certainly are some things that maybe more so when you see somebody's results,
Yeah.
you might go like, oh, actually, I really like the way that
Right.
looks. And so then you do it. And I think that's fine. I have no real problem with that. It's when in the vast majority of these cases, society is telling you, well, that waist is 20 inches and that's gross.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well,
Beauty standards you can never reach. You can never satisfy everybody, though.
no.
Because even
of
within
course not.
societies, there's people who like different things. I mean, hopefully you're not doing it for other people. Hopefully if you do it, it's safe enough or not permanent or whatever it
Right.
is. Like, it's hard to be like, that's totally wrong or whatever.
No, it's right. It's the motivation behind it, I think.
And of course,
is-
when it's attached to culture too, that's really tricky, especially if you're not a part of the culture. Like with your foot binding thing, I think as a culture, they decided,
yes.
no,
Yes.
we're not doing this.
And that's 100. As I was researching it, I was like, if there was any part of it that was like Chinese people still, I would not have even touched it.
Yeah,
just to be like, that's not, just because we don't agree with it doesn't mean.
Well, and also that's we don't live in that.
Right.
Like we don't know. So there's only so much we can speak on it
Yes.
as well. But yeah, interesting. It does make me think about like, I mean, especially because we work from home. I'm like, I barely wear
I know.
makeup now, but yeah, like the compulsion to like looks like that person or like
Yep.
women should have like this kind of length of hair or this color or yeah.
And isn't it so funny that I think the motivations have changed too? Like, even something that's seen as, like you said, it's almost like one of those things. If you don't fit the beauty standard, just wait a little while.
Well, that's
right. Like
yes.
when you see on TikTok,
Yeah.
how many stunning, beautiful, thick women that are out there that 10, 15 years ago were like, if you're not wearing low-rise jeans, nobody cares.
Yeah. Or even in like the 90s or maybe like the 80s, 90s, like if you had a butt at all.
Yeah.
Ew, get rid of that bubble butt. And now it's like, I want the butt. But and that's also tricky too, because then it's like, obviously a lot of that stuff is genetics.
Yes.
Where
very
you go,
much so.
oh, well, your body's just a fad. Like, your body's not in. So, like, oh, that's tricky.
I know. I was really hoping for and back in this time, people really loved it when a woman had much more weight on them than they do these days. But didn't find that. We'll look for it, maybe.
No, but even like some of the, like the Greek
The
goddesses.
Renaissance. Yes.
Or even the, I'm such a bad former archaeologist studier. The Venus women. They were wooden carvings.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which they, I mean,
The fertility.
yes. Idols, basically.
Yes. Oh, my God. We got there eventually. Good Lord.
They were like, oh, this is considered, like, if you have wider hips, that's
Right.
that's good for birthing. And, like, yeah, so I don't know. I think also it's different around the world, too. And I don't know. Do you do beauty standards for yourself or for other people? Maybe both. Maybe you question why you like something. Is
Yes.
society telling you should look like that, or you should do that, or whatever? Or do you really like it? Like, if everybody was like, that's ugly, but you still did it.
Right. I think, yeah, that's a really interesting question.
This was a good topic.
Thanks. It was fun.
I did not expect it.
Because it wasn't like nobody recent passed away.
Yeah.
There was nothing like nothing.
I'm a little
bad.
squirmy about the eye thing.
I know.
but-
I started off. I came in hot. with
Yeah.
that one I did. Yeah. No, this was a fun one. I liked this one. So.
Yeah.
Well, good. We did it.
Thank
we
you.
recorded 3 episodes in one day, people. We're machines.
Exhausted.
I need a snack.
Okay.
Okay, bye. Thanks for listening to Relatively Weird. If you like what you hear, make sure to leave us a review and follow us on your podcast player of choice. You can also find us at Relatively Weird the Pod on Instagram. If you have any stories you'd like us to talk about, send us an email at relatively weirdthepod@gmail.com. See you next week.